Avaricious and Envious. Two neighbors came before Jupiter and prayed to him to grant their heart's desire. Now the one was full of avarice, and the other eaten up with envy. So to punish them both, Jupiter granted that each might have whatever he wished for himself, but only on condition that his neighbor had twice as much. The avaricious man prayed for a room full of gold. No sooner said than done, but all his joy was turned to grief when he found that his neighbor had 2 full rooms of gold. Then came the turn of the envious man, who could not bear to think that his neighbor had any joy at all. So he prayed that he might have one of his own eyes put out, by which means his companion would become totally blind. Vices are their own punishment. The Crow and the Pitcher. A crow, half dead with thirst, came upon a pitcher which had once been full of water. But when the crow put its beak into the mouth of the pitcher, he found that only very little water was left in it, and that he could not reach far down enough to get at it. He tried, and he tried, but at last had to give up in despair. Then a thought came to him, and he took a pebble and dropped it into the pitcher. Then he took another pebble and dropped it into the pitcher. He took another pebble and dropped it into the pitcher. And so on until at last, he saw the water mount up near him, and after casting in a few more pebbles, he was able to quench his thirst and save his life. Little by little certainly does the trick. The Man and the Satyr. A man had lost his way in the woods one bitter winter's night. As he was roaming about, a satyr came up to him, and finding that he had lost his way, promised to give him lodging for the night and guide him out of the forest in the morning. As he went along to the satyr's cell, the man raised both of his hands to his mouth and kept blowing into them. "What do you do that for?" asked the satyr. "My hands are numb with the cold," said the man, "and my breath warms them." After this they arrived at the satyr's home, and soon the satyr put a smoking dish of porridge before the man. But when the man raised his spoon to his mouth, he began blowing upon it. "And what do you do that for?" asked the satyr. "The porridge is too hot, and my breath will cool it." "Out you go," said the satyr. "I will have naught to do with a man who can blow hot and cold with the same breath." The Goose with the Golden Eggs. One day, a countryman going to the nest of his goose found that there was an egg all yellow and glittering. When he took it up, it was as heavy as lead, and he was going to throw it away, because he thought a trick had been played upon him. But he took it home on second thought, and soon found to his delight that it was an egg of pure gold. Every morning the same thing occurred, and he soon became rich by selling his eggs. However, as he grew rich, he also grew greedy, and thinking that he could get all the eggs all at once that the goose could give, he killed it and opened it up to only find nothing at all. Greed will oftentimes overreach itself. The Labourer and the Nightingale. A laborer lay listening to a nightingale's song throughout the summer's night. So pleased was he with it that the next night he set a trap for the nightingale and captured it. "Now that I have caught thee," he cried, "thou shalt always sing to me." "We nightingales never sing in a cage," said the bird. "Then I'll eat thee," said the laborer. "I have always heard that a nightingale on toast is a dainty morsel." "Nay, kill me not," said the nightingale, "but let me free, and I'll tell you 3 things far better worth than my poor body." The laborer was intrigued and let him loose, and the bird flew up to a branch of a tree and said, "Never believe a captive's promise, that's one thing. Then again, keep what you have. And third, sorrow not over what is lost forever. And then the songbird flew away. The Fox, the Chicken, and the Dog. One moonlit night, a fox was prowling about a farmer's hen coop and saw a chicken roosting high up beyond his reach. "Good news! Good news!" he cried. "Why, what is that?" asked the chicken. "King Lion has declared a universal truce. No beast may hurt a bird henceforth, and all shall dwell together in brotherly friendship." "Why, that is good news," said the chicken. "And there I see someone coming, with whom we can share the good tidings." And so saying, he craned his neck forward and looked afar off. "What is it that you see?" asked the fox. "It is only Master Dog that's coming towards us. What, going so soon?" he continued, as the fox began to turn away as soon as he heard the news. "Will you not stop and congratulate the dog on the reign of universal peace?" "I would gladly do so," said the fox, "but I fear he may not have heard of King Lion's decree." The Wind and the Sun. The wind and the sun were disputing which was the stronger. Suddenly they saw a traveler coming down the road, and the sun said, "I see a way to decide our dispute. Whichever of us can cause that traveler to take off his cloak shall be regarded as the stronger. You begin." So the sun retired behind a cloud, and the wind began to blow as hard as it could upon the traveler. But the harder he blew, the more closely did the traveler wrap up his cloak around him, till at last the wind had to give up in despair. Then the sun came out and shone in all of his glory upon the traveler, who soon found it too hot to walk with his cloak on. Kindness affects more than severity. Hercules and the Waggoner. A waggoner was once driving a heavy load along a very muddy road. At last he came to a part of the road where the wheels sank halfway into the mire, and the more the horses pulled, the deeper sank the wheels. So the waggoner threw down his whip and knelt down and prayed to Hercules the Strong. "O Hercules, help me in this hour of distress," quoted he. But Hercules appeared to him and said, "Tut, man, don't sprawl there. Get up and put your shoulder to the wheel. The gods help them that help themselves." The Man, the Boy, and the Donkey. A man and his son were once going with their donkey to the market. As they were walking along by its side, a countryman passed them and said, "You fools! What is a donkey but for to ride upon?" So the man put the boy on the donkey, and they went on their way. But soon they passed a group of men this time, one of whom said, "See that lazy youngster? He let his father walk while he just rides." So the man ordered his boy to get off, and got on the donkey himself. But they hadn't gone far when they passed two women, one of whom said to the other under her breath, "Shame on that lazy tout to let his poor little son trudge along." Well, the man didn't know what to do, but at last he took his boy up before him on the donkey. By this time they had come to the town, and the passers-by began to jeer and point at them. The man stopped and asked what they were scoffing at. The men said, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself for overloading that poor donkey with yourself and your hulking son?" The man and the boy got off and tried to think of what to do next. They thought and they thought, till at last they cut a pole down, tied it to the donkey's feet, and raised the pole and the donkey to their shoulders. They went along amid the laughter of all who met them, till they came to the market bridge, when the donkey, getting one of his feet loose, kicked out and caused the boy to drop his end of the pole. In the struggle, the donkey fell over the bridge, and with his 4 feet being tied together, he couldn't swim and drowned. "That will teach you," said an old man who was following them slowly. "Please everyone, and you will please no one.